Hey. Jacqueline, how you doing? Aisha, welcome. Hey. You right? Do you know about these tunes? Hey. Down crew. Oh, this one. Okay. Let's get this up. Hey. "21 Questions." I'm your host, IC. 21 Questions with Irene Agbontaen. And we're going to do this. Hey. Adrian, welcome. Shah, how you doing? Hey, hey, hey. DJ Wicked. Thanks for tuning in, Shah. Make sure today you lot just use the comment section. That's your time, that's your space, that's your place, that's your home. DJ. I feel like a DJ for real. Rongo, tell a friend. 21 Questions. Big up the sponsor then. Proper Corn. Big up Proper Corn. Natural ingredients. Low calorie. Pure flavors. Later. All right, 1 minute to go. We'll get started. Big up Shay. Sit down member. Family. We're live. DJ. All right, further ado, let's get into this. Lower the music system. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to 21 Questions. I'm your host, IC. I am the host. I'm the founder of the Sit Down, and the Sit Down is literally a live Q&A event that we do kind of every 3 months. Before they locked us down, they won't let me out. So yeah, we've kind of adapted that and we've put that onto this platform here. And this is 21 Questions, where we welcome guests on and then interview them, ask them a whole load of questions within the allotted time. Each person gets one pass card, okay? Each guest gets one pass card where they can skip a question if they feel they don't want to answer it, okay? But if they don't use that pass card, they get a prize at the end. So I've got a prize here that Irene can win. Now, big up our sponsors, like I said. Proper Corn, they're my favourite popcorn. I just love this popcorn anyway, aside from it being a sponsor. But big up them for giving us the snacks during the sessions and ting. So yeah, cool, man. We're going to get straight into it, man. No time wasting. I'm going to invite Irene on and we're going to get this cracker lacking. Where's that?
Hello, hello,
Good
hello, hello, hello,
evening.
hello. Gang, gang, gang.
How are
Hi.
you?
I'm good. Let me turn up the
You look
volume. Let me
vibes. You
make
look
sure.
90s at the moment. 90s hip hop. Hello,
Microphone
Coochie.
check 1 2. I'm just gonna.
Oh, y'all start work.
Okay, microphone check 1 2. Oh, it's weird being at the
Okay,
bottom.
good.
I'm always at the top.
You're always at the top. Oh, good. Thank you for joining us. Thank you so much, man. I was talking to
Am I back in the building? Okay, let's go.
can you hear me? Oh, okay. I was talking to Grace just the other
Yeah,
day,
I can
actually.
hear you now, Crystal.
You can hear me now, yeah?
Yeah, Crystal.
You can hear me? Okay, cool. But I really wanted to interview you because I remember I did a sit-down interview with Grace Ladoja last year.
Oh, cool.
And I had to research her. And you two were just like peas in a pod. When I saw Grace, I saw Irene. I said, who is this? I said, you know, I'm doing Grace at the moment. But I need to go and check who this is. And just looking at all that you've kind of achieved and all that you're doing, I've got a daughter, you know, 1 year old, little 1 year old. And for me, hold on, let me get this thing off. For me, as a man, having a daughter has made me kind of realize how much male privilege I have.
Yeah.
The man. So
interesting.
So for my daughter now, I'm always aware of, okay, what inspirations or who can I point her to? You know what I'm saying? Her mum is the first person. That's her role. That's the person I'll point to and say, look, go and check your mum.
Okay.
Go and learn, have that as a role model first. But who can I point to outside in her community that are doing amazing things? And so now, in the period that we're in, I can say, look, go and check out Grace Ladoja. Go and find out about that person. Go and be inspired. You know what I'm saying? Go and look at Ramel London. Go and look at an Irene Agbontaen.
Thank
you.
you.
I'm saying? So I thought I really want to celebrate Black women doing amazing things in and amongst my community. And you're someone who fits that perfectly. So
thank you so much.
So it's beautiful I'm so grateful that you would come on this platform and just.
Oh, of course. Thank you for having me.
No problem. So 21 questions goes like this.
Okay, let's get it.
In the hour, about the hour that we've got, I've got up to 21 questions. We'll see if we get through all of them.
Okay.
We've got light work, and then we've got deep dive.
Okay.
And so at any time, you have one pass card.
Okay.
One pass card where you can skip a question if you don't want to answer it. However, if you do not skip, Irene, if you do not skip, I have a prize right here.
Oh, sick.
Win that prize, okay?
I hope it's corona free, this prize though.
It's corona. In fact. Anyway, you'll see. So yeah, so we're gonna go straight into it. We're gonna go light work though. So
cool.
First question. Big up to everyone that's joined us. Big up to you. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to 21 questions. We're gonna get straight into it. First question is, when are you the happiest?
Oh wow, interesting. Pre-COVID or post-COVID now?
Oh,
it's my question back to you.
Give me pre. Everything pre.
I think for me, pre-COVID, when I'm at the happiest. I think working on projects with my friends. Getting to create like really amazing moments. Highline, get an opportunity to create really, foundation moments within the community, within my community, that solidify the culture that we've been raised in. Whether it be from, the pre-Brits brunch with YouTube, or Lang's in here working with Lang and WizKid on the pop-up shop. So there's like, I think for me it's more just when I'm creating, or whether that be working on TTYA. So yeah, I think I'm the most happiest when I'm creating, if that answers the question.
And I like that because I remember you said in one of your TTYA talks that that's how you see yourself as a creative. Like, don't try and pigeonhole me. Like, I can lend my hand to this, I can lend my hand to that. and give my all in every single one of them.
Yeah.
But I can just give me that creativity, that
Yeah.
freedom, and I'll go. And I saw that most with like visibly with WizKids merch. Because when I saw that, I was like, hi. Like, I love graphics and art and everything. So seeing just those designs, I was like, who did this? And I never ever knew who did it. And so when you mentioned about that in the pop-up, I was like, you know what, this is amazing, because it just shows you that creative flair where you can bring brands together culturally, but artistically, your creativity is shown in different ways as well. So hats off. All right,
Thank you.
At the moment, who's your favorite artist?
Music artist?
Yeah.
Ooh. Who's my favorite music artist? Ooh. That's a hard one, you know.
Is that hard?
Yeah. Ooh. I don't know if I can answer that. I don't know if I have one person.
No?
No.
Someone that you always draw for.
If I'm vibes in, it's usually like house. So I wouldn't say necessarily an artist. It would be more of a mix. And I think if you've been following me on Insta through over lockdown, I love soulful Afro house. So I play a lot of mixes by like DJs like Super D, Pioneer, like Teaser. Like I like mixes more. I don't know. Lockdown's been hard because no one's really been coming out with that much music. So I don't really have anything that I'm drawing for at the moment. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's more just like mixes at the moment. Yeah. I don't know if it's more mixes at the moment. If we're talking about right now, it's more mixes at the moment. I don't have a favorite artist right now.
Who would you point us to if you would say this is the person this is the person that mixes the best?
DJ wise, that would be political, man. I booked too many DJs, they'll be upset. I can't say one person.
We allow them for today. All right. What's your biggest regret?
Ooh. Do you know what? I wouldn't even really say that I have any. In the sense of just that I think I'm in a mature enough place to understand now that things that you may perceive as a regret was more of God's way of telling you that that wasn't for you. So I think, in all honesty, I just kind of navigate now with that higher vibration mentality. I don't really have any right now, but I feel maybe if you'd asked me that when I was a little bit younger, I would probably be able to read it all off. But I think now you kind of, as you get a bit older, you understand that what's meant for you won't pass you. So you kind of navigate that way in vibrating and just knowing that you're going to attract the things that are meant for you. And if it doesn't necessarily happen for you straight away, most 90% of the time it's because it's not your time for it to happen. Yeah. You know, so I think that's where I'm kind of, I think that's kind of where my headspace is at the moment. So I'd have to say probably right as of right now, I wouldn't think like that.
Is there a point where, is there a fine balance between it's not for me versus I have to fight for it?
Yes and no. Yes and no, because I definitely feel like it is within the creative industries, and this is part of the reason why I started TTYA Talks, a podcast in the first place, because one was reach, but two was just like having a space where women can feel that they can come to and vocalize and ask the questions that they really want to ask. Because I think systematically, when you look at it, we've been engineered into or being pushed into more academic careers. And I think a lot of people, when you step into an industry that you're not necessarily 100% comfortable with, or you're just new to it, or you're not really understand how it all works, you can kind of be led with fear. So it's fear that you're kind of always stepping forward with. So with TTYA Talks, it was almost as if like, how do we bridge that gap? Let's just tell our experience, give the real talk. Some of us have been sent to actually be the person that's going to be that one person in the room, but is the person that's going to open the door so everyone else can come through and fuck it up, you know? So I feel like the baton, I'm at the baton changing stage. I'm at the stage now where I'm passing the batons to the next gen now to just come through and just fuck it up. And I think that's the difference between I think that's where I'm at with it now, I think, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it's good.
I'm not prepped for any of these questions, so I'm a bit like, whoa, they're just throwing me left, right, centre.
That's how we do it. Favourite food?
Oh, jollof rice. Facts.
Just on its own?
No, with moi, all the trimmings, moi, plantain, assorted meats. I gave up meat for the month of May, but when I'm back on my meat, assorted meats, all the full trimmings, coleslaw on the sides. You know how we do.
You know what? I'm Nigerian, but I love Caribbean food more.
Really interesting. Straight off jokes.
I like all the trimmings. I guess because I always grew up with just a rice on the stove. I'm tired.
Yeah,
I hear you. The Jamaicans captured me. Pick up the Jamaicans.
Yeah.
Tell me, what's your most favourite item in your wardrobe at the moment?
Oh, in quarantine though.
Quarantine.
Quarantine. My most favourite. Oh, do you know what? I've actually mostly been in like cycling shorts and gym wear because I've been working out at home or running. Yeah. So I'd say my gym kit at the moment.
Gym kit, is that going to continue? Has that always been? Is that going to continue?
Yeah, that's always been. Like normally, if people that follow me always normally see me. I normally do a thing called Barry's boot camp.
Okay.
In the mornings, and obviously now with COVID, it's closed. So I've been working out. One of my really good friends, her name's Kira London. She does a workout in the mornings. Yeah, so Body by Kira, and so there's about I think like 2,500 of us work out most mornings with her. So yeah, that's been really good during COVID, and I've just been running and skipping in the house. So yeah, that's been good. So I would say workout gear at the moment.
Cool. What is, we're gonna go deep dive. What's one of the hardest things you've had to go through on your own?
I think maybe dealing with or understanding now where kind of generational trauma and systematic trauma in place can hinder you more than it can push you forward. I think even when you see what's kind of going on in the media now, as us as Black people, when we really start to deep it and understand like what's been installed in us and understand that we're always a product of our environment. So whether that be like, you know, me being West African, me being Nigerian, having certain ideals, understanding certain traditions, that's all stuff that's been pumped into me. And, you know, I think one of the most interesting things of when your parents kind of, you know, immigrate and move somewhere else is that you're born into a whole new type of way of living, which is something that's very far away from what they're used to. So I think it was kind of finding, it's been interesting because I'd only say maybe in the last 2 years, I've been comfortable enough to understand like what my purpose is and finding my identity. And that's still something that's an onward and always consistently evolving journey, but finding my identity and understanding where I fit in, because sometimes you feel like when you go home, because I go to Nigeria quite a lot, when you go home, you're the Western girl, and when you're here, it's like you don't fit in here. You're African, go back to where you came from, you know. So where do you fit in? And I think there's a lot of us who are first gens who face similar, you know, traits. But the thing is, the advantage that a lot of us do have over the Americans is that we're first gen. They're like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10th generation down the line, you know. So for them, it's just like identity is kind of a bit lost, if I'm really honest. And I think for us, it's just understanding that what do you want to take from your tradition, but also how do you adapt that to make you and not being a mold of someone else's rules and regulations. So I think that's an interesting concept when you start to deep it.
That's deep. What would you then say Irene has been put on this earth to do?
I would say I've been probably, when I think about it, I would say I've been probably put on this earth to unite my community, and actually give inspiration to show that you can. My mum got told I was getting no GCSEs, boy. I'm from South London.
Serious? What part
I
of
was a
South?
little rat bag when I was younger, I'm not gonna lie. So I think for me, I show that you can come from nothing and have something. And also I think there's people who are put in positions that, you know, are there to be that barrier, to break down that barrier. And a lot of the conversations that I have are around race and are around gender equality and are around, you know, our culture. So I think sometimes it is, whether it be through TTYA, you know, being the first brand as a tall brand to be stocked in Selfridges, as a tall brand to open a whole new category on ASOS that didn't exist before, you know, and now is a multi-million-pound sector for them. So sometimes it is about just being the first, and actually only being the only one. But again, being an opportunity where you can share your story and give tips at things that didn't really work, or how you would maybe get from A to B a little bit quicker now if you have learned certain things, and give that so that the next gen can kind of slide in a lot quicker and actually like make it so that there's more of us that can be seen. Because I think a lot of the time when we talk about creative or, you know, careers in a whole, you don't really see a lot of representation. There isn't, you know, diversity became kind of like in the last 1 year like a buzzword in the creative industry, where everything was, oh, we need to be more inclusive, or we need to diversify. But it was always diversifying in the front of house, not diversifying in back of house, you know. So it's like, if we're really going to start diversifying, then we need to diversify inside out, not outside in, you know. So I think where we kind of have a responsibility is to have those conversations and, you know, see how we can monopolize our culture but use it for our gain, you know.
100%. I love that. I think I can't remember, in the melee of everything that's been going on, I saw someone write something in particular about how especially like you were talking about the culture, everyone else profits from black culture.
They always say they love our music, they love our culture, but they don't love us. That's it.
And I think, like you said, it's about us, you know, rallying together and using what we know is the culture to then be able to benefit us. Where us being able to be recipients of it, you know, back in those countries where whether it's coffee or whether it's rice, it is their thing. They don't ever get to see it. It's the big corporations that teeth it and then they give it to the world. But being able to own our culture, be in the key positions to own it and benefit the people below should be able to be, you know, benefit from it. One day we'll get there, man. We'll
get there. We'll get there when the systems change, though. The way that the systems are set up at the moment, and that's probably a whole nother segment, but the way that the systems are set up at the moment, the systems weren't designed for us. The systems weren't designed by us. So how can we profiteer, or how can we push forward in a system that is not set up for us to win? It's never going to make sense. You know, so until the laws start to change, or until policies start to change, or until we're in positions of real power, not just, you know, it's like they love our athletes. When you look at the Michael Jordan, you know, documentary, when you really deep that documentary and you look at the stands, a majority, he's selling out stadiums, 20,000, 30,000, 40,000 stadiums. Majority, 90% of the people that were in those stadiums were white people. So it's like, if you think about Michael Jordan's magnitude, you know, it's almost as if that they don't see color when it comes to athletes, or they don't see color when it comes to artists, or they don't see color when it comes to actors. You know, it's just like, when it comes to celebrities, sometimes they don't see color. But again, it's just like, you can't pick and copy and paste what you want and what you don't want, you know. So again, there's so much to say. Honestly, we'll be on that all night, to be honest.
I was watching last night. I was going through your IGTV. I was going through everything, and I love your Lagos Fashion Week, like behind the scenes.
Oh, thank you.
And it just, like what you said about barriers and breaking barriers, that for that to be your first catwalk, being a Western, an African Westerner in a sense, I would think, okay, I've got to do it in London. London Fashion Week has to be the place. But you doing it in Lagos, again, was a first and breaking the barrier. But it looks stressful.
Oh, bro, it was so stressful.
It looks so stressful. So I wanted to ask, like, it might be that situation, but when give me a scenario, a time where you have felt the most pressure to perform, and how did you get through it?
Yeah, it would be Lagos Fashion Week. That was another level. That was another level, because again, it goes back to like they still see you as a Westerner, so they think that you're privileged. They think that you've got all this money to spend. They think that like you don't really understand that the hustle of you like pouring your savings into your collection, and all your family and friends flying out just to help you iron. Like I had my friends like tying the laces on the trainers of the models, ironing, making sure that their hair and makeup was on point. Like without my friends and my family on that trip, it would have been a mess for me, so you don't really see the BTS, but it was also one of the greatest experiences for me. And also taking my my Caribbean friends, so like two of my best friends are twins. They came, they've never been to Nigeria before, they came to Nigeria and they absolutely loved it. So again, it's just welcoming people, bringing them into your culture, and allowing them to understand what it is, and try your food, and be with my mom. And my mom took them to the market, and I didn't even go to the market. They went to the market with my mom, But just, it was so amazing to have them there. But Lagos Fashion Week was probably one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life, and more because I was a bit more naive to how I thought it was going to be. And things now I've done two. Like I did one the following year after, and I did a collaboration with Tokyo James, and we had Spinall and Rema walk on our catwalk show, and it's the first time I'd done any menswear and things like that. But the second time I'd done it, it was stressful, but not as stressful, because you knew what to expect. And I think going there and not knowing to expect, like now I look back on it and I just think we were so brave, like to just pull up and then just by any means necessary you got to make it work. It's such a mad mentality, but then you also just have to just embrace that things don't always go the way you want them to go. And I would have daily breakdowns, I'm not going to lie to you. Whether it would be us, I tried to shoot the lookbook. I did shoot the lookbook in the end, in the bus station.
I love that.
In the bus station, but having to pay off the guy that runs the bus station, and like some of my clothing was a bit transparent, so the Muslim men in the bus station were not trying to have it. So just dealing with it was like every day there was something new to deal with, or like our models wouldn't show up. When I got to the casting, they were telling us, like part of doing the fashion week, your models will be provided, and my clothing line is for tall women. So imagine me getting to Nigeria, and I've gone through all the headache of getting all my product there, all my footwear. These times I think I had 23 looks, so you've got to have 23 shoes for the models, but not just 23. I think you have like double, because you don't know whose sizes are going to be what. You've got to bring extra. So imagine doing that, and I get to the fitting, and and probably I think I used 5 out of all the models that they had, maybe 40 models. I took 4 because the rest were too short. The rest were too short. Yeah, 4. I took 4. So imagine in 2 days we had to recast the whole show. So we had to try and we were finding girls on the street, girls in the club, anywhere we could get girls, we were getting girls. Or if a tall girl came, we'd be like, Dahlia's in here. So Dahlia was the creative director behind that whole time in Lagos, and just the stress she knows. If it wasn't for her, that show would have just been, I don't even think I would have shown. I would have just pulled it because it would have just been too much, to be honest. But we even went to like Lekki Conservatory, shot all the visuals, and then when we got there, they were saying on the day that we couldn't use the visuals, and then we had to just try and be like, we're using the visuals, So, there was so much that was stacked against us. But I think what prevailed was the sense of, having people that really believed in the end goal with me, because sometimes people can see it even if you can't see it for yourself. And I think that's something that's really important on your journey. Like, you might not always be able to see the light at the tunnel, but as long as you're riding with people who do, they're going to be the ones to pick you up and keep you moving,
100%.
So I think that was something that was really important at that time.
Love that. Oh man, I just remember I was watching it, and I just thought this must have been a lot. But just like you said, I could see there was so many people around you, And even at the end, I think it was the girl that you mentioned. She said she when she saw you backstage, she just cried.
Yeah,
So
we were crying backstage. We were crying. My mum came, and the thing is, my mum and dad are not together, and that's the first time that they've been in the same space, and I think over 15 years. So imagine they sat next to each other at the fashion week, at the show. So all my family were there, my friends were there, like loads of my friends had flown in from London, just for the show, and it was so emotional because we were there for 2 weeks solid, you know, and it just showed that all our hard work had come. The next day we were like chilling at the pool, and we were just a bit like, so what, is it finished now? Yeah. Is that it? Like all of that stress. But I think one thing I wish I had maybe done a little bit more was just enjoy the process. When I look back on it now, I just think we done so much in a short amount of time. From, you know, all of my product, all my samples some of my samples hadn't even arrived yet. So I was waiting. Every time that someone would come from London, they would bring something extra with them, a sample that was still in London getting finished, you know. So, you know, we had to wait until we could shoot the lookbook, and then we shot the lookbook. So imagine we've shot a lookbook, we've done the show, you know, and then you're putting it all together, and then you're feeding it to press. And then on top of that, I'm like having to put the whole mock-up together to send to the buyers with pricing, with all the retail pricing, so that you can now wholesale, like your collection is there to be sold. So then it doesn't stop there, you know, so it was just going. But I'm so proud, like ASOS did a 10-piece edit, which kind of went global and was amazing because, you know, we had so many, they helped on seeding it, and it was a big moment for them because they'd tried to do ASOS Africa, but, you know, for them, it was like something that was really organic and had a natural story. Like, again, all the imagery was shot in Nigeria. We casted the models. All of our models were black, you know, so it was something that was really monumental. All the crew was black. Everyone that worked on my team behind the scenes were black, and they were women, you know. So just having that opportunity from my assistant to creative director to models, like everyone just being strong and incredible, like black women. BTS was just something that I had never really seen before, from beginning to end. Everyone BTS being a person of color, you know, and I think that was something that was actually really iconic. And going back to your original question, when you said why Lagos maybe and maybe not London, I feel like it would have not made the same waves and not made the same noise if I had done it here. Like I could have easily shot my, you know, lookbook in the studio, but I wanted to shoot it in Lagos. I wanted it to storytell because, you know, I'd done something for ASOS in Lagos prior to that, but it didn't capture it the way I captured it. And I felt like that collection was so strong. I'd worked on it for 6 months, and for it to kind of, you know, manifest the way it did, and for me to be able to employ and dictate my own narrative was something that was really important. So imagine me pulling up to ASOS, pulling up to this board meeting and being like, here's my lookbook, shot it in Lagos. You know, here's all the images, here's everything that you need to push out for press, here's everything that you need, all done by an all black amazing female team. You know, and then like celebrating and doing a party here and collaborating with them on it with them was something that was really amazing. So I think for me, it's just always been able to cross culture and showing that, okay, my heritage might be this, but I was brought up here, but one doesn't have to be here and the other has to be here. They can definitely cross over. So I think that was something that was really important to me.
Corruption tour
to the hand.
You mentioned something about you having breakdowns, and in the videos you did seem very kept together, like it's hard but we're going to get through it. And so I wanted to ask you, what is one of the biggest misconceptions of Irene that people have about you? Because I would just assume, yeah, Irene, she's got it, don't even worry about it, ain't nothing face Irene, she'll just get through. But
I think people that know me, they know I'm a bit of a crybaby, I'm not going to lie. I don't think I should be admitting this on the live. I'm a very sensitive person. Do you know what? I was talking about this the other day. Anthony's in here. Hi. Like, I was talking about this all the other day in the sense of just that. I think, if I'm really honest, I think the biggest misconception of me is that what you just said, that I have everything put together, and I don't. Like, I'm a human just as everybody else. And also I think because I'm 5'11", everyone expects you to be like this tall, strong, intimidating character. Yeah. And it's just like, people who know me, they know, like, I'll give my last breath for someone. Like, I'm my mother's child, you know, like I would really, like, my mum will go the ends of the earth for someone, you know, and I'm literally my mother's child. I'm the same. Like, if you need my help, I'll be there. If there's something that I can do to pattern, I'll pattern. Like, if there's something that we can work on together, we can work on it together. And I think that that's where a lot of my values come from. Like, I'm from Ends. I'm from Brixton, South London. Like, it doesn't get any realer than that. And I think you can take the girl out the ends, but you can never take the ends out of the girl. So I think for me, I grew up, my mum worked 2 jobs. So I grew up on the roads. I grew up with my friends, and my friends are what gave me value. So I think loyalty and friendship is something that's so important to me, because without my friends, you know, I wouldn't have had guidance. When your mum works 2 jobs and she's out a majority of the day, you only have your friends to help you grow, you know. So I think for me, that's something that I take really personal. Like, personal relationships are so important to me. Like, I hold them so dear to my chest, honestly.
Who are the special people in your life?
My family, my close circle of friends. I'm not gonna lie, I work in a very, very superficial industry. So, you know, I've been burnt so many times because I came into the industry very naive. I came into the industry thinking everyone's buddies, everyone's chums, and, you know, I found out very quickly that that's not really the case. And I'm not saying that that has anything negative. It's just, you just have to kind of find your peoples and put the energy out that you want to receive, because if you put out what you want to receive, then you're going to attract the right people anyway. And I think for me, I've always been blessed in the fact that I'm okay with being BTS. I don't have to be at the front. I'm good to, you know, work with this artist or be here, or just, sometimes I ain't even working. I just want to go and have fun. Sometimes it is just about going to have fun, you know, like flying all the way to Houston because I've never been before, because I wanted to go to NASA because I'm a geek, but Grace wanted to go to Travis. So I was like, well, I want to go to NASA. You want to go Travis? Let's do both. Let's just go Houston. I can go to NASA. You can go and do Travis. Boom. You know, so I think just building your circles, finding your crew, and just pushing with your peoples. I think that's the people that are kind of really special and close to me.
How important is traveling? Because you spent a couple of years in Australia.
Oh gosh.
In Asia. How important was how important was it for you to do those type of things while you can?
Super important. Again, and I think that went back to the fact that when my mum came here, she had to fight so long just to get her British citizenship. And we were lucky that we were born here, so we got it automatically. But I think what the red passport does entitle you to, well, I don't know what it is anymore now that we've done Brexit, but that's a whole other conversation. But what the red passport did, it was your access key card to the world, you know. And I was just like, my mum, I think probably one of my mum's biggest regrets is that she didn't travel as much as she could have, or utilized her red passport as much as she could have. And I'm the opposite. I was just like, anywhere that I could go, let's be going. You know, anywhere we can make it work, let's be going. And I'm always down to like try new cultures and experience new things, and I'm good traveling by myself. If no one wants to go, I'm also good. I can go on my own. Like, I was in Asia for almost a year, you know, bouncing around. My friends would come out in certain places and dip in and dip out, but, you know, being at the Great Wall of China, I just wish now that I had shared it with someone, because maybe I would have had more maybe if you're born in the UK, your parent doesn't have citizenship. I'm sorry, I'm just reading this.
Oh.
Citizen is a red, even if you're both born in the UK. Yeah, I was born, so I had citizenship, but my mum did get hers eventually. But I think what it inspired me to do is to just rinse the red passport, basically. Yeah, go anywhere that I could. We're lucky and blessed with our passport. In a majority of countries, you need a visa. Even if you need a visa with a British passport, it's so easy. You can get visa on arrival, or you can, you know, we had so much more privileges when you compare. Like, when I look at my friends, I've got Nigerian passport. Hey, the stress that they have to go through to go anywhere is big. Or even, you know, I think with us, we were just lucky that your red passport is kind of like your golden ticket to travel. So for me, I was wanting to just do it as much as I can and just experience the world. And I just thought, if I've got nothing, if I don't do it now, when am I going to ever do it? And I think when I went to Asia, I had just left ASOS, and a friend of mine had got a really big buying job. She was a fashion buyer, and at that time, Australia was doing a lot of poaching from the UK. Like, come and work for us. They were literally paying like 3 times the salary. Wherever you get here, you could go to Australia. So a lot of the fashion buyers were like, wow, I could be on 100K and be in Australia chilling. Let me go and save for a while and then come back. So, you know, my friend was like, well, I'm going to go to Australia, but maybe on the way to Australia, let's do a bit of Asia. So I was like, sick, let's do it. So we went to Thailand, we went to Bali, and then she went on to Australia. Then I went and did China, Hong Kong, all of that jazz. And then I went to meet her in Australia, and I didn't last very long in Australia. I'm not going to lie. I just didn't. I just think, I don't think that they're racist. I just think that they're very ignorant people. And I think for me, being, again, a 5'11" Black woman, I just didn't feel like I could fit in there. It just didn't really align with my spirit. And by that time, I'd been away from London. Like, Australia was kind of my last stop, and I'd been away from London for so long. I was kind of homesick. My sister had my nephew. I just wanted to be at home, to be honest. And yeah, but I've just been so blessed, even with work. Like, it takes me around the world, and I get to meet so many people and make friends globally. And I think that's where the difference is. Whether it was me interning in Complex, you know, how many years ago now that I moved to New York and I interned at Complex, but interning at Complex now, you know, one of my mentors was the fashion editor at Complex at the time. And now, you know, working on shoots on like the Kanye covers to, you know, and just getting editorial, but the editorial is what got me my job at ASOS. So it's like everything kind of happens for a reason, and everything was that next step to let you get on the ladder to the next step. So I don't know, life is just, for me, a bit of a game of snakes and ladders. You're just maneuvering your way through and trying to make it work, but having the best time.
Nice.
Simultaneously.
You mentioned your, actually, hold on, before I ask this question, I did ask people to give in their own questions, and there was a question from Cass X UK. She said, how confident were you in starting your own brand, your own line, so TTYA?
I was very confident in it, because I think TTYA was something that was definitely needed at the time. There was a massive gap in the market. When I went traveling, that's when I really began to get super frustrated, because I used to look, and I'm not going to lie to you guys, when you go to Asia and you're around people who are traveling around and stuff, there isn't really that many Black people. And I'm going to be honest, I struggled, because I found that for me to be able to maneuver and move quickly, I needed my bags to be light. So I just wanted basics, you know, a couple of tees, maybe a long sleeve for when it gets chilly at night, a long sleeve jumper, a couple of leggings, a maxi skirt, just all your essentials. And I just remember how hard it was being tall and just finding all your essentials. And I just used to get so frustrated. And I think when I was traveling more, that's when it really started to get on my nerves, because I just thought, I don't want to be carrying around layers and layers of stuff. I just want to have one case and be on the go, or one bag and be on the go. And I remember my last stop, I had come back to London after Australia, actually, and then I went to New York, and I was sitting in my friend's apartment, and she was just like, what do you want to do? And I was just like, do you know what? I just want to make clothes that fit people like me. Like, I'm just annoyed. And she was just like, well, do it then. And then that was it. We did it, you know. And she's an incredible artist. Her name's Lena Victor. If you haven't heard of her, definitely go and check her out on Insta. She makes artwork. A lot of her artwork is based around, I believe, 21 karat gold. But she did my first, all the graphics for my first lookbook. I shot my whole lookbook in black and white. And yeah, I think for me, it was just, I knew what I wanted, because I was tall. And for once, it was actually making stuff for girls like me, by me. So it wasn't really rocket science, to be honest. And there was other brands out there that were doing stuff at the time, but I just didn't feel like they kind of catered to the forward thinking. They weren't on trend. They weren't youthful enough. And I just felt like I just want wardrobe essentials. So I'm just I'm going to make what I need. And so it was pretty straightforward, knowing what I wanted to make. It was another thing finding suppliers, but that's a whole nother ball game.
I love what you said about there was already people doing it, but there's a Drake lyric, I love it, and he says, it's not about who did it first, it's about who does it right. Can we preach now?
Correct. Louder for
It's
the people at the back.
okay. So even if there's a plethora of like ideas that are already out there, similar, but what can you put on it that makes it different? Like what is in you? What uniqueness do you have in yourself that you can inject into it that makes it different from everyone else? And I think with you, the concept, the idea of let's make clothes for tall women, that's one element. But you as a person and the personality you bring to it, it makes it come alive. Your culture, mix that in the pot, it makes it come alive. Your experience, it makes it come alive. So, big up to Cass XUK who asked that question. But
thank you, Cass.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing where whatever your idea is, don't leave yourself at the door. Bring everything, your culture, your experience, bring that with you into it and watch it flourish. All right, what's the time in the Rolex? All right, so 40. Okay, all right. Time is moving fast. All right. I wanted to ask you, because time is talking, what's the most impactful conversation that you've ever had? Now, to give you some context, I had a conversation when I was about 15 with someone who was like a mentor in my church. And he was a good friend of mine, just a good friend. And he just said one line. He said, like, make sure when you die, it matters that you lived. When you die, make sure it matters that you lived. And for some reason, I'm 38. So for some reason, throughout all these years, that has stuck with me. It's driven everything I'm doing. When I die, is it gonna matter that I live? What have I put on this earth that's gonna make my funeral packed? Because my funeral is going to be
it's gonna be lit, yeah.
It's gonna be lit. Because I'm pouring everything I am and everything I can, I'm pouring it on this earth. That conversation, it just stuck with me. So what conversation have you had with someone, a friend, family member, that has really had a massive impact on your life?
I think if I'm honest, it's something similar to what you said. Like, I get asked quite a lot, not necessarily just by one person specifically, but I always get asked a lot, especially in interviews actually, what would you want your legacy to be? And I think it kind of goes back to a question that you asked earlier, in that, like, what is my purpose? Because I don't think my purpose was just here to make clothes for tall women. I think my purpose has been a lot, is kind of been always pioneering and always kind of been at the forefront, and having those uncomfortable conversations, or doing when people say that you can't do it, you do it, and leading by example and being the change in my community that I want to see, to be honest. So I think that's something that's always stuck with me more and more, and especially the older that I get, it is what are you leaving behind, what is your legacy going to be, and what do you want people to say about you?
Yes, exactly. What do you think people will say about you?
That I'm going to be the example in my community that I want to see. She was an example in her community that she wanted to see change.
Come on. Lastly then, what is your favourite motto or quote that you kind of live by?
Don't cry, don't beg.
What does that mean?
Don't cry, don't beg. If I even start to tell you where that came from, it's too mad. I don't know if you've ever seen that show, Cheaters.
Yeah. And
when they follow the partner and Dahlia's laughing. When they follow the partner around and they catch them cheating, there's an episode with a Nigerian man. Nigerian cheaters is so mad. So basically, when his wife catches him out, or when his girlfriend catches him cheating, he says to her, "Don't cry, don't beg. It's all over, Jackie." So that is my motto in life. Don't cry, don't beg. Keep it pushing. Keep it moving. Keep it moving. It's another way of saying keeping it moving. Keep it moving. Don't cry, don't beg. It's all over, Jackie.
All right, love it. We've got about 10 minutes on the clock. I want to, everyone that's listening, I want to throw it over to you. So we've got about, I'd say about 1/2 questions that we can take. So if you have a question, I want you to throw it in the comment section right now. So far, Irene has not used one pass card. You didn't use one pass.
They've been good questions.
Say again?
They've been good questions.
Oh, good. So you've got 1 or 2 questions to skip still. So if you have a question, on this live, you've been watching, type it in the comment section now. This is your opportunity. If not, I will take my place for my last question. All right. Let's see, anything? Big up everyone that's in here today. Zakiza, Emily, Jacqueline, Nicola, Cass.
Oh, hi, Jacqueline.
Who else have we got? Bree, that's my sister. Dahlia. Abs. Shaquille. All right, y'all ain't got no questions. I've got a question. Okay.
Okay, go.
You spoke about your nephew. What type of parent do you hope to be? And what would you teach them, your child?
If
you choose to.
I hope to be a trauma-free parent. I hope to be a trauma-free parent. I hope that by the time I have kids, I would have dealt with, I'm still a work in progress, but I would have dealt with the things that systematically I feel like oppress us and we pass on to our kids without necessarily always realizing. And I feel like that's probably a whole nother life, but systematic and generational trauma is something that really weighs heavy on my heart. And I think for you to be the best version of yourself that you can be, that's freeing yourself and unlearning all of the bad things that you've picked up unintentionally because your parents have done the best that they can do with what they've been taught. So, you know, not to do the blame game. They've done the best with what they were taught, but it's for you to unlearn those things and to be the best version of yourself that you can be. So I hope that for me, when I have kids, that I will be trauma free. So I'm not screaming, "Go and bring me the remote." I'm joking.
And you know when you get there, do you know where the remote is? By their hand.
Next to them.
Irene, I want to say a massive thank you.
Oh, no problem. Thank you. Thank you for asking me. I appreciate you.
You made it through, no pass cards. And as a result, this is your prize. Are you ready?
Someone's asked a question. What's been the biggest obstacle you have faced in your career?
Thus far.
Career, one of the biggest obstacles. I think sometimes career, I'll do career because it's probably the one that people will be more interested in. But I think one of the biggest obstacles, again, is being in an industry, being incorporated into a system that hasn't been designed for us to win. So we're constantly, you know, in a structure now where we haven't always necessarily been taught to understand business. And when you're going into these structures that have, you know, systematically been in place in a way that it's business. You know, Grace says to me all the time, "What's the business?" Because you get past the point of you don't just do things because it looks a certain way or you want to align with certain people.
What? It stopped for a second. What did you just say?
Sorry. I think I would always, my advice will always be to ask what's the business behind anything, your idea, anything that you want to do. And that's something that Grace has installed in me. I'm not going to lie to you. She's always like, "Sis, what's the business there?" What is the business? Because once you know what the business is and what your objectives are, it becomes very clear. Because sometimes you can always be involved or rolling in other people's plan and not realizing that, you know, you're not actually filling your own plan, or you're not necessarily achieving what you can achieve because you're interested in how things look or social media, or I just need to be seen at this party. Why? Like, you know, what's there for you? So I think it's always having a plan. And I think one of the obstacles was at the beginning of TTYA, I wish I understood more of the business of fashion. I had a really great idea in the sense of just, I wanted to, you know, make products for tall girls, but it's a business at the end of the day. And, you know, if I understood the business a little bit more, I probably would have made less mistakes and I would have been in a position where I would have not been knee-jerk reacting, because I would have anticipated for things that happened. You know, I didn't anticipate for my brand taking off. I didn't anticipate, you know, I knew the stores I wanted to get in, but I didn't anticipate my team was so small, you're just jumping from one thing to the next. So you get into Selfridges, but you need to be marketing it constantly, you know. Selfridges is not going to help you market your brand. You're feeding into their plan. You're in that building to help you build your strategy of, you know, being at the top, because obviously that's quite a premium place to be. So but Selfridges are not going to help with numbers. Selfridges will buy maybe 50 units of one style, whereas ASOS might buy 800 units. So there's a big difference there, you know. So, you know, understanding the actual business of your margins, you know, I wish I really understood the back end when I started a lot more. And I think it would have just helped me make a bit more forward focusing. And I just would have been one step ahead, rather than feeling like I was a hamster just going with the flow on how things happened. Oh, people are coming with questions now. What's Jackie saying?
Jackie said, did you have any barriers to entry when starting a tool brand? A few years ago, tool fashion wasn't a thing, and people still don't get it. So were there any barriers in terms of that?
Yeah, loads. People didn't get it when I was pitching it. People didn't get it. Like when I went into my buying meeting at Selfridges, they were like, what, tall people really can't find clothes? Is it really a thing? And I was like, it's really a thing, you know. But again, it's not their fault. It's just what you're susceptible to. You know what you see. Visually, what you take in is what you know. You know, so I think at the beginning, if you think, I remember I started TTY in 2013. So that was 7 years ago now. So it's tall fashion now, then wasn't what it is now. And I think I'm going to blow my own too. I definitely feel like I was responsible for where it is now, if I'm going to be honest, because no one gave a shit then. No one didn't care about tall. There weren't no Boohoo. There weren't no Misguided. There weren't nothing. There weren't even ASOS tool then, you know? So, you know, I think I did open up that lane for tall fashion. I just wish that it had been in the way I wanted it to be. And again, I'm not ASOS, I'm not those bigger companies. So again, what all they do is when they see that something's working, they just replicate it, and they've got the machine to turn it a lot faster than you do. But I think one thing that they haven't been able to do is that I'm still the face of my brand. I still represent my brand. My brand is what I want it to be. So yeah, it can be fashion one day, but it can be the podcast another day, or it could be the panel another day, or it could be a launch party for the supper club the next day. So my brand isn't cohesive into one thing. It's a lifestyle brand, you know, and that's one thing that I feel like is my unique selling point, is what it differentiates me from the other brands. And I think that is something that is always going to be something in business that you need to determine, like, what's your unique selling point? What's gonna make you change? Because people are gonna come, people are gonna see, just like you said, I wasn't the first to come. There were other brands that was out there, but for me, I was like, I want to do wardrobe staples. Then it was like, okay, things were selling out. Okay, cool. Let me do like going out wear. Let me start doing stuff that you could wear to weddings. Let me start doing, you know, and the bigger the categories get, you know, people always ask me all the time, oh, why don't you do leather jackets? Why don't you do tailoring? Why don't you do this? And what they don't understand is that your margins there are so small. Like, to do a leather jacket costs you almost as much as it is to sell it. So unless you're making it in large quantities, like thousands, sometimes if you're a small business, you need to understand that for you to be able to do mass, you either need to have it as a sister brand, because my price point was also at a certain level. So I didn't really want to compromise my price point because, you know, and quality over quantity, you know. So I think you just have to figure out where you fit in and what you want your brand identity to be, and then you kind of just go from there, really. Yeah. Someone said I had a question. Scroll up.
We have 1 minute to remaining.
Oh, no, it's fine. Oh, shit. Is it because it's an hour? Does it cut out?
Yeah. All right, what we'll do, 15 minutes. I'll put my baby to bed. We'll do 15 minutes of questioning. So we're going to end this one and do 15 minutes of questions. Is that cool?
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's fine, of course. Sure.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, 21 questions sounds like 28 questions. Catch us on part 2 very quickly. All right, bring your questions.
Let's do questions. I don't mind doing questions. Let's go.